So let me just start by welcoming everyone here. Thank you for coming to my presentation, and I'm going to share my screen now. So let me go ahead and prep this. Let me start my presentation here, and now I'm going to share my screen, and you should be seeing it pretty much now. All righty, so let's get started. Let's talk about the imposter syndrome and how you can make it work for you. Right now, we're in the middle. We see light at the end of the tunnel, but we're still in the middle of a pandemic, and we are not getting that human contact that we were getting before. So a lot of the feedback that we would get from family, friends, coworkers, colleagues, it's gone. So now we are full of self-doubts, and a lot of people have expressed to me especially that they are perhaps not deserving of the job that they have, that they don't feel quite up to par to what they're doing. And that is the classic imposter syndrome, right? In here, I'm not just going to address how you can tackle the imposter syndrome. This is not about it, but this is about how you can actually just turn it on its ear and make it work for you. In other words, if you feel like an imposter, then why not take work from others who are not imposters to you and make them yours? In other words, steal them. Let's get us started here. And let me go to my next slide here. And there it is. You've heard this a million times. Good artists copy, great artists steal, right? So what is stealing? Is it really taking somebody else's work and then just putting your name on it and presenting it as yours? Of course not. That's a vulgar copy. We're not talking about copy. We're talking about taking something that somebody else did and changing it so much and putting so much of you into it that it no longer is the other person's work. It's yours. And that is what I mean and what others mean by stealing. You will recognize some of these sentiments. Oh, I got lucky. I really don't deserve this. I sure fooled them. I know I'm not good enough. Or sooner or later, they're going to find me out. They're going to see that I am a fake. Again, classic thoughts and words that come from the imposter syndromes. There are a lot of inherent dangers to this, and one of them is that it really kills creativity and productivity. The good thing about it is that it keeps us down to earth, right? I mean, how can we have a great ego if we think that we're imposters? But you see, that little positive thing, it's not good enough. So we really have to tackle this and nip it in the bud. You have to get in touch with yourself. I mean, seriously, you have to find out who you are, who encourages you and who doesn't. You know, this is so important. Again, this human contact that we have with each other, people who are your cheerleaders in life, many a times it's your family, you know, your parents, your children, your spouse, your good friends, coworkers that are in your corner. You know, who is in your corner and who isn't? What and who are you really? What are you good at? There's got to be something that you yourself feel that you're really good at. You know, you don't need others to tell you that you're good at this. You know you are. What are you not so good at? So once you actually have those things down, I mean, really be honest with yourself. You know, me and others have always said, you know, you can lie to everybody else. Don't lie to yourself, you know? So once you know who you are, what you're good at, what you're not good at, then you can start playing to your strengths and strengthening your weaknesses. So let's tell you a little bit about me. In addition to all of those other things, I've been a violinist for 50 years. I started when I was 7. At 13, I was a member of the National Symphony Orchestra, and I've been playing for a long time. Notice that I don't say I play the violin. I say I am a violinist. I don't play music. I am a musician. because it's part of who I am and how I do everything. All of my art is in relationship to music. And I remember distinctively when I was studying that all of my professors would not just encourage, but in many cases demand that I imitate them, a vulgar copy. Why would they do such a thing? And I'm not talking about playing in tune or doing the right rhythm or doing the right notes. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about interpretation. We're talking about a note that might be played a certain way, and the professor wanted you to play it a different way. We're talking about artistic decisions. Why on earth would all of these professors, and I'm talking about really big names in music, would want you to do that? The reason for that was to open my mind to other interpretations that weren't just mine, so that at the end, I could take both their interpretation, this recording's interpretation, this other person's, my friend's interpretation, and then change it in a way to make that concerto, that sonata, that whatever it was, to make it mine. And this is where I started stealing. I would steal from interpretations. I'm not talking again about playing in tune. That is understood. That is understood, that you're playing in tune and that you're playing the right notes. The technique is out of this equation. We're talking about interpretations and stealing in a way that you are not just copying, you're really stealing. Find out which artists you admire. Who do you think is not an imposter? I mean, seriously, we all have a little bit of self-doubts. Maybe this piece is not good enough, or maybe we are even just looking for inspiration, right? Maybe you don't suffer from the imposter syndrome. Maybe you're very sure in your qualities, and you're just hitting an inspiration block. The muse hasn't come to play with you today. So what are you going to do? Well, who is not an imposter? Who do you think is great? Who is worth it for you to steal from? You know, so why do you like them? Exactly, what do you like about this work or that work? Don't tell me, oh, well, you know, I like Da Vinci because, well, everybody likes Da Vinci. Yeah, you know what, that's not good enough. Put it into words. Why do you like it? So you see, all this plays into how you're going to steal, right? Put it into words. And finally, what really calls to you, to your soul, to your feelings, your emotions? What touched you in a way that other pieces of art maybe didn't? And I'm talking about pieces of art that could be painting, sculpture, poetry, dance, music, videos, animations, graphics, photos, anything at all. The important thing is to recognize exactly what is that called to you. And are they worthy of a steal? If you're going to steal, right? Don't do it from crap. I mean, do it from a masterpiece. That's what I'm saying. Are they worth it? Worth it of your time? Let's just talk a little bit about semantics, because, you know, I call it a steal. Many other people call it a steal. Other people call it I'm drawing inspiration from, or emulating, or basing my work on. You know, it doesn't really matter what you call it. It's just semantics, you know? At the end of the day, it's taking work that somebody else did and making it yours. Again, not copying, you're stealing it. When you're done, nobody is going to say that that belongs to the other artist. It's yours. But how do we go about it? You know, I have my phone with me all the time. I have my phone. And if I see something I like, I take a picture, I take notes, I take screen grabs. You know, I start remembering things, and I have a little folder, and I don't call it things I would like to steal. It's just things that I like, you know, things that I like. The stealing comes much, 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 much later. But I'm always, you know, making record of things that I like, things that I particularly liked, you know. Again, the stealing comes much, much later. And the whole process, you know, I know that perhaps I'm making it sound like you just take it, you stealing it, and all of a sudden the muses are going to come dancing, and you're going to create this masterpiece. That's not how it happens. You have to work at it. You have to try different things. You have to keep at it. You keep at it. I heard, a session yesterday that the speaker talked about the muses coming to play with you when you sat down and worked. So it's not just like it's going to come and hit you over the head and all of a sudden, ta-da, there you have this huge masterpiece. Nah, it doesn't work like that. You have to get at it. You have to make decisions. You have to try this. You have to try that. And some things work great. And some things are, well, yeah, crap. Let's face it. But it's okay. The more you work at it, the more you recognize why you liked what you are taking or drawing inspiration from, let's use that less negative term, then you will be able to be true to yourself and know what and how to change it. Is it legal? Are you going to get a phone call from somebody else's lawyer saying, hey, you stole from me? Let me give you just a couple of examples. This one example is actually from my sister, who happens to be in the audience. Hi, Lupe. And she won a competition in Foto España in 2012. So these are quite old. And look at the pictures. She is taking pictures of her and her husband's reflections on the television while there are very well-known programs playing. This is the next one. Very well-known programs playing. She's taking these pictures. Look, there's an LG logo in there. There's the Studio Universal logo in there. Look at this, HBO Family logo is in there. That's Alice in Wonderland, and it's her reflection and her husband's reflection. She took a series of pictures, put it on an exhibition, an art exhibition, and presented it and won the competition in Spain. There was a meeting of the committee to decide if this was legal or not. And to make a long story short, it was decided that because this was an art exhibit and not taken for commercial purposes, that it was perfectly okay. So yes, this was legal. Let's do another example here. How about this one? Remember this one? I sure do. I sure do. Lawsuits, judges, the outcome is that the artist and the Associated Press came to a private settlement. It was decided that the illustration was way too similar to the picture. So the stealing didn't go so well. Listen, I'm not a lawyer. I don't even play one on TV. I'm not going to suggest that you take any kind of legal advice from me. I am a violinist gone bad. That's what I call myself. I'm a musician that started doing video and then started teaching and then started flying drones and then started flying planes. The law has nothing to do with what I do. So, I can tell you this. Number one, don't take legal advice from me. Number two, I only steal from artists who cannot possibly sue me. Cannot possibly sue me because they've been dead so long that, yeah, it's not going to happen, So I'm just saying what I'm saying. It would behoove you, if you're going to steal, that you take what you stole or emulate it and run it through Google Images, if it's an image, to see if something comes up. If the algorithm from Google recognizes it, it's too close. You didn't steal it well enough. You know what I mean? So again, don't take my advice, my legal advice. I'm just saying what I'm saying. So, garbage in, garbage out. Garbage in, garbage out. If you steal garbage, you're going to produce garbage. Not always, right? That's not always true. But I try to steal only from masterpieces. So steal from places, from works of art that inspire you. If I'm going to steal music, I'm going to do it from the greatest composers on earth, Bach, Beethoven, Mendelssohn. I'm not going to take from, the guy down the street that did a riff that I liked. That's not going to happen. I'm going to steal chord progressions from Bach If you're composing music, Bach chord progressions are second to none. I mean, if you're going to steal a chord progression, why wouldn't it be from Bach? So, you know, and steal from things that speak directly to you, that talk to you. To you. Doesn't have to talk to anybody else. It has to mean something to you. And here I'm just going to give you an example of a video that I created during the pandemic. I wanted to create something because artists feel a need to create, you know, whether somebody watches it or not, it doesn't really matter. But I felt the need to create something that reflected the crazy times that we lived in. So this is a classic example of how I took inspiration or stole something to just create a video. This is motion graphics that really meant nothing to anybody else but to me. So let me just show you the finished example, and then I'll show you how I did it. And it just goes on and on. I have two clocks. One is going forwards, one is going backwards. I have the bird looking thing, whatever that is. I call it the chicken, falling in love with the clock that is going the correct way while its own head is going backwards. It was just a crazy illustration, motion graphics example that I haven't used anywhere. I didn't do anything with it, but the whole process brought me a lot of joy. And this is how I did it. I took an original image by Picasso. I brought it into Illustrator. This particular painting really called to me. I liked the proportions. I liked the colors. I liked everything about it. I had two artboards in Illustrator. You could do it in Photoshop, you could do it in whatever. And this is just one example. Maybe you're not a graphic artist, but it doesn't matter. The process is pretty much the same. Take the original and then put yours next to it and then change it enough while keeping the things that really call to you. I did in Illustrator, I did an image trace and I saved the colors. One of the things that called me about this particular painting were the colors. And then I just created new layers and I changed it enough. This is my chicken and this is the original Picasso. Notice the proportions of the head, the neck, the body. Look at the colors. Yes, I inverted the colors. Of course I inverted the colors. But look at the whole design. Look how it has the diagonal lines, kind of in the lower third, the long neck, the protruding face, which I made into kind of like the beak of the bird. And then the face, I just made it into the clock because this was always supposed to represent a crazy time. All right, so that's how I stole that one. In this one, I was tasked to creating a logo for a drone company, not mine. I have a different logo. And I was just like, how am I going to do this? You know, I had already created mine. I didn't want to steal from myself because, again, the imposter syndrome. I'm like, maybe it's not so good. Maybe I'm not good enough to steal from me, blah, 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 blah. So how did I do this? Well, I went online and looked for birds. I am originally from the Dominican Republic, and our indigenous people are the Tainos. The Tainos have a bird. They have the drawing of a bird that once I found it online, I knew that was it. I absolutely loved it. Again, I brought it into Illustrator. I did image trace. I changed some things. I deleted some parts of the image, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm just going to take you directly to what the Taino bird is. You might recognize it. You might have seen it.
Pardon the interruption, just a 5-minute time.
Oh, okay. Sounds good. Thank you.
Of course.
So these are the artwork boards that I did. You have the original Taino Bird, you have the copy that I made, then I deleted the parts that I knew I didn't want, and I was left with a teardrop. I multiplied it with, with creating the 4 parts of the drone, and then I gave it a twist to give it motion, and then finally I added a shadow to it. I don't think there's anyone that would look at that logo and think, oh, well, that came from the Taino Bird. Of course it did. So I think I was very successful stealing that. Finally, I just want to give you a musical example. This is still a work in progress, but I wanted to create music for one of my videos. I was looking for something on my, my buyout music and all of that, and I couldn't quite find what I wanted. And the Mendelssohn Violin Concerto is a concerto that I've been playing since I was 13 years old. I mean, I've been playing this for a long, long time. It's probably my favorite violin concerto, and it goes something like this. And that's pretty much the theme of it. So I like the chords and I like how the melody went. Again, I've been playing this for almost 40 years. No, for over 40 years. So long, long time. Is my favorite violin concerto. This is what I did piano solo. Same notes, different order. And finally, I added strings. I'm not quite done with this. I'm going to add more, but this is what I have now. I don't think there's anyone that would listen to that piece and say, oh, well, that's the Mendelssohn Violin Concerto. That's not going to happen. Anyway, the inspiration you can draw from who your parents in art are. In music, you have your musical parents. So I studied with Charles Leboeuf, who studied with Dunis, who studied with, so I'm part of that lineage. And if you find what your artist parents were inspired by, you may find what inspires you. Don't forget, garbage in, garbage out. If you're not inspired by the work, others might not be. And thank you. If you want to contact me and talk about this further, I'd love to do that. It's just Luisa at Mid-Atlantic Drones.